Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. And I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this double feature. We are not only going to take a look at BallParkPal and some of his data and sort of a backtracking of his data in the 2025 season, especially as it relates to home runs. But we're also going to look at my process and how I have been. We're going to backtrack some of my data for my home run picks. So a lot of you watching this are familiar with what I do. If you are new here, I am on a journey to handicap home runs in Major League Baseball. And that was what I set out to do at the start of the year. And it's been a rough ride, a lot of ups and downs, but more downs than ups. I use BallParkPal for all of my information, and I am still trying to figure out how to maximize the data that BallParkPal provides, and also using myself and shopping for odds and things of that nature. So today's video may be a little long. You may look down and see over 20 minutes, and that's okay. If you don't have 20 minutes to spare, well, by golly, go watch TikTok, you Gen Alpha. I don't know. I'm lost what generation we're on. Gen X, Gen Z, one of the gens. Here's what we're going to talk about. First is BallParkPal. Second is myself and my process and my history this season and backtracking some of that. So every single day in the morning, I go through and I paste in this chart the home runs and the data for home runs that were hit the day before. So in this chart, if we go all the way down to the bottom, you will see 1178. That's how many home runs have been hit this year, minus one or two. I paste all this in. This information, if you're curious, is from a website called onlyhomers.com. You do not have to subscribe to my Only Homers, but it is free information. So I paste this in here. And then what I have done on the side is I have added the batter handedness. Are they a left-handed batter, a right-handed batter, or a switch hitter? And then the pitcher handedness. Do they throw left or right-handed? And so this information is constantly updated. I went ahead and I created like a helper file that has a list of all the pitchers and batters, and I add to it every day if there's a batter that is not already in here. And more, we'll talk about why that matters in a little bit. As many of you know, batters who are opposite handedness of the pitcher tend to historically have an advantage in the batting matchup. Then what I do is I go through and I put the BallParkPal grade for the matchup if it was a starting pitcher. I don't currently track the bullpen guys. So, for example, Trey Sweeney hit one in the 7th inning against Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson did not start the game. Therefore, BallParkPal did not have any data on him, so I have it in here as an X and an X. It's just unqualified data. But if you look below that, you see Matt Chapman in here had a D and a 7. Okay, and so I'm going to take you over to BallParkPal's website and show you kind of what it provides and show you where I'm getting these letter grades from and also where I'm getting these numbers from. Then we will look at how all of that information has come into play the first month and a half of the season. So it's a good time to say, if you are interested in using BallParkPal, and you have not already signed up, you can do so using code Wilson. That will save you $10 at checkout. Right now, I believe he has lowered the price since we are a little bit into the season. It's typically $60 for the year. It's now $50 for the year, but with code Wilson, it'll be only $40. So if you're not familiar with BallParkPal, let me show you some cool things. This is where I get the information for the letter grades from. It's under a tab called Starting Pitchers. You cannot see that at the top because I've trimmed this down. I apologize, but it is, if you go to his main page and you click on Starting Pitchers right here, it will take you to this format, and you have to scroll down. A lot of people only look at this and they see this chart and they say, oh, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of good information. But if you scroll down, there's even more information. So let's go to Aaron Nola today, who has been a little bit suspect for a big name. And you see the projected lineup for the team he's facing today, which is the Cleveland Guardians. If you look at this matchup, what you need to understand and what confuses a lot of people is this is the matchup from the perspective of the pitcher. In other words, Aaron Nola versus Steven Kwan is an F matchup for Aaron Nola, which means that Steven Kwan, the hitter, has a significant advantage. So think of it like it's kind of reversed for the hitter. Bad grade is good for hitter. Bad grade is obviously bad for pitcher. And then you have the projected plate appearance, home run percentage, hit percentage, strikeout percentage, and walk percentage. So you can see this green here says that Aaron Nola is likely to strike out quite a few guys. He has a good matchup in terms of strikeout for quite a few guys, but this top of the order has a a good chance to hit him, Kwan, Jones, and Ramirez. So another cool thing that you can do, and I want to show you how this letter is generated. Sorry, as I wiggle my mic around, is you can click on the matchup. So if you click on the F, it says extreme advantage for Kwan, and it shows some information about different metrics of the game. If you come down here, it shows how Stephen Kwan hits different release points, both left and right and high and low. So he hits a an arm closer out to third base, kind of a sideways release, much better than he does when it's closer to the top. And then same thing for release point, high versus low release point. It then shows the pitch types. So this is Nola's pitch arsenal and how well he throws the ball, and then his percentage of throws. So 31% are likely going to be a knuckle curve. We don't have enough information on Kwan to say how he's going to hit that, but everything else Kwan hits pretty well. You can also look at the pitch label, which shows, how does Nola measure up in terms of MLB average with these sort of things, right? Meatball is good for home runs. He throws 1% less meatballs than the rest of the league. You can look at the drop, how well he hits drops, how well he pitches drops, and then you can look at location. So he's going to throw a lot at the knees or close to the knees, which Kwan hits okay, but he puts a lot right here over home plate, which Kwan hits tremendously well. So all of this information is provided by BallParkPal, and some would even argue that it's too much. Maybe it is, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Then you can come down here and look at contact label. Now, Nola does pitch to the MLB average a lot more standard grounders, which obviously isn't good for home runs. Exit velocity, you can see Kwan doesn't hit a ton over 100 miles an hour. He hits more in this middle ground range. And then you can see the launch angle. You want to be in about this range for home runs. So all of this information can be used not only for home runs, but for whatever you want to bet on and however you want to analyze. He does have a home run historically against Aaron Nola, though, in 2 singles. So 3 at-bats against Nola and 3 hits. All of that to say, this is contained inside BallParkPal. But if we go back here, we got to sort by Nola again. What I do the next day when a guy hits a home run is I write down what was his matchup, what was his home run number. Now, you can see 0.07 is not phenomenal. If we go to a guy like Aaron Judge, he's playing, Oswaldo Bido today, who's here. You're going to see 28, right? Aaron Judge is always over the 0.2. Always, because he typically hits home runs more than the average MLB batter. So what I do, like if Aaron Judge hits a home run tonight, I will go back and I will add an F and I will add a 0.28 into this category, okay? And because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to see, is there a sweet spot? When I look at a slate, say for instance, this matchup with the Yankees, when I look at this, is there a certain metric I should target? Should I be even considering Oswaldo Cabrera today at an A? Do A's hit home runs? Do C's hit home runs? Do D's hit home runs, right? Like obviously logic tells you D and then above a 15 would be a good spot to pick home run. Is Ben Rice good? But then you got to factor in the price. So what I do after I do that is I aggregate it and then I have this chart that shows some of the data. So let's walk through some of this right now. Now that we have an update. So I will tell you, this is not perfect. I am not perfect. I made all of this, but there are small minor errors where there's like 1 or 2 home runs off and I can't figure it out. So all of this is just, you look at it holistically, collectively with a grain of salt. So this is the handedness first. This is not BallParkPal thing. This is just something that I think is valuable. A righty versus a righty versus a lefty, and so on. So if we look at the same handedness, which is typically worse for home runs, you're going to see that 40%, 43% right here are same handedness, which means that over 50% of home runs hit in Major League Baseball come from opposite handedness. So something to keep in mind, maybe something to target. The 2 highest, though, are righty versus righty and lefty versus righty. Lefty versus lefty is one of the worst besides switch versus lefty. Okay, so if you have a lefty batter and a lefty pitcher, right? Typically, it's not good for home runs, but also there's a smaller sample size. Many times when there's a lefty pitcher on the mound, teams will not start their left-handed hitters unless they're Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper, guys with good batting no matter what. But as we look to starting pitchers, remember, I am handicapping this every day I'm making picks based on starting pitcher, you see very, very similar numbers across the board. Right versus right and left versus right are the two highest. Right versus left is the next highest, and then switch versus right. If we scroll down here and we want to look over now towards more BallParkPal information, this is the number of home runs for the grade. Now, this is an important thing to tell you, and this is an error that I did not catch the first time, but I need to tell you now. And I don't have a way to fix this, a way that is not going to be incredibly time consuming. But when I look the next day, these have already updated in the system, meaning that if Aaron Judge is a C tonight and he hits a home run, there is a chance he goes to a C- or a D even, because of that piece of information that is now within the system of BallParkPal. So what you have to understand about this, and I'm sorry this is skewed, is this is not prior to the event. Now, what I can tell you just anecdotally from witnessing all of this is, one, I'm not tracking C-, C+, C. I'm just tracking it all as C, because again, it would be too much effort to track the full C-, C+, C. I just round it all to C. Yes, it would be better that way, but it's just too much information. So a C- and a C+ are not equal, but for the data, they have to be equal to keep it easy. So, think of it like this. All of these Ds could have been C-. Okay. And so this, again, no pun intended, this is supposed to give us a ballpark of expectation. So the bottom line is, only 7% of home runs hit in Major League Baseball this year were from guys who grade as an Oswaldo Cabrera, an A. Okay. And if we look at B, 10%, C, 23. Now, keep in mind, 23% is C the next day. Some of those could have been a B-. D, keep in mind, well, that says 40%. Well, you may be tempted to pull up BallParkPal, to subscribe to BallParkPal using code Wilson, and say, well, I'm going to play Trent Gresham, Ben Rice, Paul Goldschmidt, and Austin Wells. There's a chance that Anthony Volpe, who is a C here, if he hits a home run tonight, could bump up to a D, because now his matchup against Beto has changed. Okay, so you have to kind of think of this as not only current, but what could it have been the previous day, right? A lot of these Fs could have been Ds. Again, that's a flaw in the system. I fully recognize it, but I'm not going to write down every single player prior to the event and then go back and check that data. I'm just going to go back to the next day and look, and it will have updated. So the bottom line is, most of the home runs, 63%, are coming from Cs and Ds. You add in this, we're up to 63, 73, 81% are from C's, D's, and F's. So am I playing a lot of A's? No, I'm not, because A's are a bad matchup for the batter. If we look over here in terms of handedness, these are the totals for same-handed and different-handed. So again, same-handed A's are hitting more home runs than different-handed A's, but everything else, the opposite handedness reigns supreme. So the most hit home runs are different-handed batters in the D category. So if we go back to this example today, I know Beto is a right-handed pitcher, so left-handed D, left-handed D, left-handed D. So Wells, Rice, and Gresham. If you just want to use this information purely based on volume and most likely to have happened, at least so far this season, it is different-handed and D. Again, I'm not saying that's a good way to do it or a bad way to do it. I'm just saying that's what I have so far. They're hitting, more than double of C and different. Okay, so then what we also have to look at is the range. So if we go over here again, these percentages in terms of increase in matchup, right? Cabrera is just not great. Okay, 0.03 versus 0.28. Now I mark them all like a 0.13 is a 13, 0.28 is a 28, 0.03 is a 3. So if we go here, the higher the number, the better it is for the batter to hit a home run. So if we go back here, the sweet spot, believe it or not, appears to be in the 4 to 12 range. So if we look again at our D different 4 to 12, so that was 3 batters for over here. That's a little bit high, right? That's a little bit higher. All right. Oh, there we go. That a D opposite batter in the 4 to 12. That's Austin Wells. Okay. Now, does that mean Ben Rice and Trent Gresham are not going to hit one? Absolutely not. Right? They're higher. They're even better. They're more percent up. But you also have to keep in mind that it's a smaller sample size in those ranges. Again, see, like 28 and 30 are only Ohtani, only Judge, pretty much. Maybe a Schwarber here and there. So again, sweet spot is that 7 to 9 range. Again, for same-handedness and different-handedness, you will see 7 to 9, and you will see different-handedness 7 to 9. Different-handedness 7 to 9, D, is the highest rated outcome. And in order to see that, what I've done is I've made these charts. Now, I'm going to be very, 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 very honest with you. These charts are flawed and skewed. And I know that because the total number of home runs from same-handedness is 365 and different-handedness is 435 and all batters is 732, which is, these two don't add to that. They add to more. So this is a little bit flawed, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why it is flawed and where I went wrong in the calculations. However, I think this still gives you a good picture. So this is a matrix, a sort of heat map that shows you not only grade, but also range, because these charts only are not binary. What's the opposite of what's not binary? Unilateral? It's only it's these are binary down here because it's showing not only your letter grade from BallParkPal, but your range. So D7 to 9, what do we say? That was the sweet spot? Well, there it is, okay? And you can see all of this green right in here. C to F, 4 to 12 is where a lot of home runs are hit. However, a D13 to 15 is better or the same as a B 4 to 6, right? And so my curiosity was, is it better to play a better matchup, letter-wise, but worse home run-wise, or is it better to play a worse grade, but a higher home run total? And it's looking like grade is more significant than number. And it's even better when you can get a little bit of both, right, in this pocket right here. And again, this is for different-handedness and same-handedness, and you can see they kind of mirror each other. So what I can say with confidence is the majority of home runs that are being hit are from batters in a B- to D range from 7 to 12. Now, does that mean that you can blindly look through the slate and only play those guys? No, I would not suggest that. I think there are other factors to consider. So that's the BallParkPal information. That's what I'm tracking in terms of BallParkPal to try to see, is there a sweet spot? And that's what I have determined. I think different-handedness matters. I think looking at C's and D's and even F's, if we look down here, that matters. And I think finding this sweet spot in the 7 to 12 range, 4, 7, 12, matters, especially when they're different-handed. Now, if I had unlimited time, resources, and skills, what I would do is every single day, using the information that I just presented you, is I would make sort of a checklist of, I'm going to find batters who are different-handed, who are rated C, D, or F, and who are between 7 and 12. And I'm going to chart them all down. I'm going to write their odds, and then we're going to just track and see how does that perform only. I don't have that time, and I'm not going to do that, but I use that information to guide me in my process. Odds still matter, though. Ben Rice today is like 290, 310, and I don't like him at that number. I don't like him at that price. Could he hit one? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to hit one, 1 out of every 3 games in this situation? No. So that's why I'm laying off, okay? So that's BallParkPal's information. Now, I said this would be a 20-minute video. We've already reached there. We haven't even talked about myself. So let's talk about myself now. Because as you guys know, I've had a bit of a time with this process. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I have laid out my daily summary. So every day I chart, as you guys know, my wins, my losses, my home runs, everything, the odds, all of that. And now I have a summary table built. So on this summary table, I have the date, I have the number of plays that I make, the number of wins I have, the number of losses I have, the net units, the total risk, the ROI, and then the bin references how many plays I took. So on this first day, March 28th, we had between 11 and 20 plays. It's by tens, and it was a Friday. Now, I will let you know that if you're an OG listener, prior to this date, I was betting more than 0.1 units. On the 11th was when I switched to 0.1 units. So this is the more accurate data down here. And you can see I have wide ranges. I have 78 plays on one day, and I have 19 plays on one day. And if you watch my home run video today, I said, I got to figure this out because this is a huge, in terms of process, this is a huge discrepancy. I need to figure out what the sweet spot is. So, how can I suggest anybody play 78 plays? I can't. No, well, let's look. What happened? We had a positive ROI that day. We went up a unit. So I played all of those, but I won a unit. Oh, well, I played 7 less and I lost 2 units. What about down here? I played 50 and I lost 3 units. What about good days? Well, this was a really good day, 2.36 units. I played 50 plays. What about down here? Oh, 42. I went up 2.6 units. So all of this is going to be summarized up here. You can see, based on this chart right here, I've never had a day where I pick 0 to 10. I do have 6 days where I pick 11 to 20. I have 3 wins, 3 winning days, 3 losing days, 6 total days for an overall ROI of 17%, up 2.6 units. So if I only played 11 to 20 plays, if every other day didn't exist, I only took the 6 days that I played 11 to 20, I'd be up 2 units in this challenge. I'm down 8. If we look at the days, also 6, that I play 21 to 30 plays, which is interesting. I have 3 winning days. I have 3 losing days, but I'm down 5 units. My losing days were significantly worse than my winning days were good. Something to keep in mind. 30 to 40 plays. I have 4 winning days, 9 losing days, but I am technically up 2.4 units, and that's my most played amount. Okay, 40 to 50 days. 9 plays, 4 winning, 5 losing, minus 5 units. 50 to 60, minus 2. But then you get to this weird spot of 60 to this, now, although it's only one day, so it's probably bad data to use. I'm actually not going to talk about it. I'm not going to use it, okay? Total, 18 winning days, 24 losing days. So what does this information tell me? It tells me that this is probably flawed right here because it's only counting for one day. Only one day did I make between 60 and 70 plays, and it just happened to be a good day. But if we don't count that, any day I play over 40, I'm down. Again, not counting that one day that I was good, I'm down 5, 7, 8 units. In other words, I'm down when I'm down. In other words, if any day that I pick over 40 was just stricken from the record, just forget it. Forget it ever happened. I never played over 40 plays. I'd be breaking even roughly right now, and I'd be feeling pretty darn good doing it. So I think what I am learning about this process and about myself, and this is why tracking your bets, and I don't think you need to do it as extreme as this. I'm only doing this to help hopefully tell you guys something, learn you guys a thing or two, is, you can look at this data and you can make some conclusions about your process. And I think, although it's a limited sample size, right? It's only 42 days of doing this, which, is a 25% of the MLB season, roughly, is the more plays that I have over time, the worse I'm performing. So I'm going to slim down, and I've said that. Now, how much of that relates to the weather? When it's mid-July and all the conditions are good, then can I extend? Then can I play more? Should I still slim it down? We'll have to see. I'm not sure. Another thing that I think is maybe interesting is the day of the week, because you get different games on different days based on how teams travel, when teams travel. Sunday, typically, most teams are playing in the afternoon. There's only one night game that day. Saturday, there's a lot of afternoon games. And so if you look at my ROI by day, Saturday and Sunday weekends have been horrible for me. 3 winning days, 9 losing days in terms of Saturdays and Sundays total. So I've played 6 Sundays. So this is a month and a half's worth of data. 6 Sundays, and I've only been positive 1 Sunday. Saturday, 2-4. Monday, 4-2. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, all of those are fine. Wednesday, take it or leave it. Not great, but it is what it is. Maybe I need to skip weekends. Maybe something's going on with the weekends, and I need to lay off weekends. I don't know. All right. Some other information. My average winning day is 1.27. My average losing day is 1.6. So when I lose more than I win when I win more. All right. 13 winning days, 15 losing days. Medium wins. My max wins. Again, my max loss, I lost, which is actually crazy. We're down 8 units, and almost half of that was from one bad day, which is really sucks to think about. And then my win-to-loss ratio, 0.79. And here's a chart, a frequency table, so to speak, and I'll make this a little bigger, of the number of plays in my ROI. And again, you can see this trend line that goes down, which means as I play more plays, my ROI decreases. Now, again, this is skewed because we have 146% ROI one day that I played 14 plays. But, I think the data supports me playing less amounts of plays. And the last thing I want to show you guys is I sent this information a week ago. So this is not quite up to date, to a loyal listener, Austin Wheels. He'll be down below, and he should be down below because he should take credit for this. And he said, I'm curious about teams that you play. I'm curious about players that you play. I'm curious about overall odds. And so he created this all for me. He summarized all of this for me. And so this is not my data. I'm not taking credit for it, but I do want to walk through it. He has it by team. So the Chicago Cubs are my most profitable team, up 5 units alone on the Chicago Cubs. The Giants, 4.5 units positive, 1.87 ROI. My best ROI is from the San Francisco Giants. The Dodgers, I said, am I playing the Dodgers too much? Am I overextending on the Dodgers? Not the case. Up almost 4 units betting Dodgers. Washington, Baltimore. This is interesting because I said I'm overextending. If you want to think about the teams that I play the most bulk from, it's Washington and Baltimore and probably LA, right? But I play them when I think there's an advantage in matchup, when I think they have a lot of guys who could hit home runs and the prices are good. And so that's paying off. Over the long haul, that has paid off. And so maybe we combine both of these sets of data. Maybe overall I'm playing too much, but when I see an opportunity, it's okay to overextend. It's okay to play 6 batters from a team. When it's like a Washington and the wind's blowing out to right field and I got a lot of lefties, you can say a righty that allows hard contact, right? Play 6 guys. That's okay. Something to keep in mind. We scroll down. Cincinnati, 3.9 units down. Texas, I said these Texas bats, man, I can't figure them out. The Mets, Cardinals, Angels, Kansas City. Okay, all in the negative ROI. Look at this for the Reds. Look at that. 5 voids, 62 losses, 5 wins. I played 67 Reds batters. Holy smokes. But I played more Washington, but it's up more. So really interesting, really cool. Let's sort by units and see. Washington, Baltimore. That's units total wagered. Sorry. Let's sort by units net. I already had it by that. I don't know why I needed to sort it again. Okay, so that's cool. Now we can look at specific batters, which is also awesome. Wilmer Flores, my best batter, 5 units. I'm up 5 units on Wilmer Flores, 4 on Matt Mervis, 4 on Ryan O'Hearn, 3 on Nathaniel Lowe, 2 on Tommy Edman. What people are always mad about me taking Stephen Kwan, right? Like you're always like, oh, too many Kwans. Oh, you're taking Kwan too much. I'm up 1.46 units on Stephen Kwan, 2.14 on Stephen Kwan. Who else? Bryce Turang. You guys are always like, oh, too much Turang. Turang. I'm up 1.9 units on Bryce Turang. What about Nolan Shonowell? Now this is where I'm going to lose a little bit of hope. I'm down a quarter of a unit. I'm down 2 plays on Nolan Shonowell, 1 and 9. It is what it is. So that's so cool to me. Who's my worst? Who is my worst? Got to sort of A to Z. Keibert Ruiz, Max Muncy, Luis Garcia, who actually hit one at the day after I sent him this, so that was a little off. I do think I've hit some on him. Jock Peterson, Kyle Stowers, Garrett Mitchell, Griffin Koenig, Vinny Pasquantino, which sucks because every time he hits one, I'm just not on him. Cameron Meisner, yeah, I could have told you that. Candelario, Steer. Okay, so that's players, which is, again, pretty cool information. Now, the last thing, and then we'll end this video because it's been like a mini podcast. Let's zoom this in a little more. This is the odds range and the total units based on odds that I've played. So I've not played any between sub 200. I've not played any over 1800. Let's sort this by most to least. So my most profitable units range, my net units up 5 units. If I had only played 8 guys in the 800s, I'd be up 5 units. That's my sweet spot. I've only won 16. I've lost 121, but I'm up 5 units on guys who are in the 8 to 900 range. 12 to 1300, I'm up. 14, I'm up. 16, I'm up. 17, I'm up. 13, I'm up. In the 200s, I'm up. Wow, this is interesting. My worst range, down 4 units in the 4 to 500 range. The Bryce Harpers, the Austin Wells, the Ben Rices, is what it is. 900, which is weird. That 800 is the most, followed by then these other high numbers, and the 900s I'm losing. Thousands I'm losing. Yeah, so I don't know. I get a lot of comments about you're playing too many high odds guys. You're playing too many guys that aren't hitting home runs. Well, the data says that maybe there's something there. The data says that maybe it's okay to reach for those bigger numbers in spots that you like, because you can go 1 for 10 and still profit. You can go 16 of 121 and still profit. So that's what I got for you today. And I think to summarize, if you want to use BallParkPal for any data, use code Wilson, save yourself $10. But as it relates to me, I do think I need to play less overall. When I have a read or a target in a specific matchup in park, it's okay to overextend. I don't want to say overextend, but it's okay to shell out and really load up. And find that balance of not playing so many overall, but playing a lot when you have an edge or when you perceive that you have an edge. So again, guys, I am nothing if not thankful for you guys. I'm getting torched, but when I look at the daily metrics, this speaks to me right here. I'm getting torched, but I'm not getting torched when I slim it down. So we're going to start slimming it down. And as the weather warms up and we get more positive throughout in park conditions, maybe we will extend a little more. But right now, we got to do what's best, and that is to slow it down. Think about it. Be intentional. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time, which will be tomorrow.